The agreement that we are signing today in many areas, in technology, in AI, in earth materials, magnet, etc., that will create a lot of investment opportunities.
So you are doing that now. You're saying to me now that the $600 billion will be $1 trillion.
Definitely, because what we are signing, it will facilitate that, and
I like that very much.
A big investment in the U.S. from the Saudi Crown Prince. Joining us now, the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Mr. Treasury Secretary, thanks for being here.
Brett, good to be with you.
That was a big announcement at that moment, 600 to $1 trillion.
Brett, it was the president at his best, working for the American people, always looking for more for them, and it was a big day here today.
What does that look like? I mean, it sounds great, 600 billion to $1 trillion, but how does that roll out? What does it actually look like?
Well, Brett, think about if you are another country in the world, what do you look to the U.S. for? What are the sources of American power? And that's what we saw on display here today. First, there's the military. So Saudis are going to be buying F-35s, coveted by everyone around the world, proof that they are a valuable ally. Two, our great economy and the reserve currency status of the dollar. So they are willing to put in $1 trillion of investment into their portfolio that they already have here. The U.S. is the premier destination in the world. And then three, our technology and innovation economy. Again, they want to invest in that. They want to buy our chips. We are going to partner them with some of the U.S. biggest tech companies. And then there is also a Saudi startup that will be getting a smaller supply of chips that can be built on.
Let me go back to the first one, the military. There had been concern at some time in the Pentagon about giving the F-35s or selling the F-35s with that technology. Israel had raised concerns about it as well, that maybe China could eventually get that technology, or maybe it's not the best thing. What changed in the president's mind on that front?
Well, I think the Saudis have shown that they are valuable allies in the region. It was the Saudis who stepped up during the 12-day war with Iran, during the B-2 Operation Midnight Hammer. So I think the Saudis really showed that they are the premier military player in the area, and during a time of stress, they were 100% behind the U.S.
You talk about the other investments and the AI and the nuclear. What's the timetable for investments like that? When you hear $1 trillion, what are we thinking timetable-wise?
Well, I can tell you the president's very keen for it to happen during his term, and we're already seeing a lot of it start to flow in. So when we talk about the investment, some of it's going to be in buying the chips. We had someone in the Oval today who's a direct beneficiary of Saudi orders for power turbines. So I think the president is always in a hurry to help the American people, and he has conveyed that to the Saudis.
What do you say to folks who want to know a total number of all these investments that the president's bringing in, the tariffs that have been implemented and bringing in? Do you have a big figure? Do you have a total number?
Well, the president uses the number 20 trillion in terms of total investments, and I think that those commitments are real. And whether it's corporate investment, whether it's the Japanese trade deal where they're going to put in $550 billion, that whether it's the Korean trade deal with $350 billion, whether it's Apple saying that they're going to reshore, I believe that they may be up to $500 billion. So it's investments like we've never seen. And Brett, just to put that in perspective, the entire Biden administration was $1 trillion. $1 trillion over 4 years, $250 billion the final year. And we've got many single investments that are bigger than the Biden administration took in 1 year. So this is America's back. The president's done that, our great tax policy. So we're deregulating, we've got tax certainty, and we're working on energy certainty.
Is there an affordability crisis? You listen to Democrats, that's obviously the word they're using. The president's talking about it more as well. Is there a crisis when it comes to that?
Well, they should they should know about it because they caused it. It was the worst inflation in 40 or 50 years by this massive government spending, spend. And if we go back, what did they do that the president, differently than the president did in his first term? So they had a demand shock induced by this massive wave of government overspending, but to make it worse, they had this huge regulatory buildup. So demand shock and supply constraint, that's the recipe for this inflation. President Trump, now and during his first term, you get a demand shock from the private sector, but you deregulate. And then you can go back to the non-inflationary growth. But look, we are working on this every day, and my prediction is that first quarter, second quarter, what we are going to see is we have brought the inflation down, it is curving down, and real income, the other side of that equation is real income growth, and we are going to see this from all this investment.
Would a $2,000 tariff dividend check going to people be inflationary?
Well, there are a lot of things that are going to happen next year.
Is that one of them?
And that could be one of them. And again, maybe we could persuade Americans to save that, because one of the things that's going to happen next year is the Trump accounts. Every child who was born from January 1st for the next 3 years is going to get a government account that goes into the stock market. So every American child born for the next 3 years, starting January 1st, is going to have that. They can take it out when they're 18. They're going to learn the power of compounding, and there's going to be a lot of financial literacy around that. And I think the reason that we saw kind of the disastrous election in New York is young people don't feel like they have a stake in the economy, so we want to give them a stake in the economy.
We know that the healthcare dividends are coming to an end at the end of December. There are efforts on Capitol Hill, all kinds of efforts. Are you in favor of a 6-month extension to try to get a plan between Congress and the White House, first of all? And second of all, are you working on tax plans around whatever health care plan surfaces?
Well, Brett, what we do at Treasury, we'll work on the tax plan. I don't want to get ahead of the president or HHA. Secretary Kennedy. So we will see what happens with that, but I can guarantee you Treasury will have thought out the taxes.
And do you think there's going to be a push, like months, to kind of give some breathing room?
Again, we're just in charge of the tax side.
Last question. There was a moment where the president was asked about the Fed chair choice today in the Oval Office. Take a listen.
You started the interviews for the Fed chair.
Yes.
Who have you interviewed?
I think I already know my choice.
Who is it?
Well, I liked him, but he's not going to take the job. He refused. You like Treasury better, right?
Much better, sir.
So we are talking to various people.
He said you like much better, Treasury much better. You're not taking that job.
Brett, there are, I think, 340 million Americans now. I think I can safely say that I will not be the Fed chair. I think President Trump will make a great Fed chair. He has an open mind. He understands monetary policy better than a lot of people on the Fed.
But the list is narrowing. There's a top 5, but you've already started interviews, and this process is moving forward.
Yeah, so we've moved the list from 11 to 5. We're doing another round of interviews. Then some people in the White House will be doing interviews. Probably right after Thanksgiving, mid-December, the president will meet the final 3 candidates and hopefully have an answer before Christmas. And
will we have an answer, do you think, from the Fed about another cut? Do you think that's where they're going?
I hope it's where they're going, because when you're in uncertain times, and after what this Schumer shutdown did to the economy, I would think that if you're not taking out an insurance cut here, or if you're flying blind, they say, well, we don't have data. Well, if you don't have data, then that's what insurance is for. So I would encourage them. They've gone into a cycle, so let's go 1, 2, 3, and we can see from there.
We'll continue to follow up. Mr. Secretary, thanks for the time.
Right. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.